And we will see how Egypt developed the concept of the importance of the sun in relation to theology and spirituality and religion. Now, this is an ancient symbol for the sun, prehistoric, that the ancient peoples drew to represent the sun. It's an equal arm cross within the circle. Here is an artifact that was found in England at Stonehenge. It's on a golden circle, which represents the sun, and then you'll see the cross in between, and this is about 4,500 years old. Almost 5,000 years ago, ancient mankind drew pictures of what they perceived the sun to be as an equal arm cross, and you will see it also in the ancient religions of the Near and Middle East, the different ancient gods in the Phoenician, Canaanite, Sumerian systems. They all had the equal arm cross. But it's important to remember that the sun was never perceived as a god. It was perceived to represent the spiritual qualities of God, in that it brought life to the earth, it brought warmth to the earth, it brought energy for us to live. So all of the good things about God and His creation was best represented by the symbol of the sun. Sometimes the sun actually even looks like it has an equal arm cross in the heavens. The reason why it's 4 equal arms on the cross is because there are 4 equal seasons of the year. We have north, east, west, and south, the 4 corners. Then each one of those 4 corners represents a season of the year: spring, summer, autumn, winter. This is why you have 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because they're talking about the life of the sun. The ancient peoples, like us today, we draw a circle, a round circle, and we divide it into 4 equal parts. And so now you have an equal arm cross inside of a circle. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, spring, summer, autumn, winter. There's a lot of symbolism in the Bible that we have misunderstood and mistaken. The whole idea is the 4 lodging places of the sun gives us our 4 seasons of the year. You will find the equal arm cross all over the world. Every race and creed and color has the same symbol for the ancient sun. The Nordics had the symbol, the Vikings kept the symbol, ancient France used the symbol. The symbol was on rocks and carvings and paintings. Even in India, you have the equal arm cross. The Celtic and the Celtic Druids in Europe and England and Ireland had an equal arm cross. Native Americans used it, Central America, and especially in Mayan and Inca and some of the ancient religions in South America have used the equal arm cross. So it became known all around the world that the equal arm cross within a circle represented the old 5,000-year-old petroglyph concept of the sun. Today people see it everywhere, and so it has become not really important because it's just a general symbol that people realize is a cross. Here is a picture of the ancient Nordic peoples that were preparing for what we would call today the Easter sunrise service. Here the ancient peoples in Europe realized that the sun was coming back to the northern hemisphere, and it would bring with it the warmth, the food, and life. And so they all gathered with their sun symbol to welcome back the sun that had died in winter and was coming back to the northern hemisphere. It became known as what we call today Easter. The circle on the cross is not a man dying on a cross, it's the sun on the north, east, west, and southern parts of the earth. The idea being, of course, is that when the sun dies in winter, and then when it is reborn on December 25th, the sun actually begins to move northward. And when it does, that tells the world that the sun is now coming back to the northern hemisphere, bringing back the sun to us in the northern hemisphere. Because for us in the northern hemisphere, the sun was dead to us because it was in the southern hemisphere. But now it's being born again and coming back to the northern hemisphere. That's the whole story in itself, is the vision of the sun going southward and dying on the cross, and then being reborn on December 25th when it moves 1 degree northward, and now is coming back and sort of springing back to life. And so in the spring, we call it springing back to life. Well, you will have the symbol everywhere, and even the European Agency for the Euro uses the same equal arm cross to represent the new Euro establishment. You will always find in royalty throughout the world, royalty and governments always use this equal arm cross. The Nazis used it. Even in the parade of the Nazis used the swastika, which is a symbol of the sun also. But you will see also that they are using the equal arm cross. Coptic Christians, even the kings and rulers like the emperors of Europe, always had the equal arm cross on their staff, equal arm cross with the sun god and churches. In September, mid-September, around the world, Christians will gather in schools and universities to worship their God Jesus, who died on a cross. And when they call this ritual, see you at the pole. See you at the pole means that Christians will gather around the flagpole at their colleges and schools to venerate and to worship Jesus, God's Son, the light of the world. Well, of course, the sun is the light of the world. But here are Christians gathering to worship Jesus, never realizing that they are actually meeting around a very ancient symbol of the old petroglyph cross. That this symbol of an equal arm cross within the circle represents an old ancient idea of how to picture the sun. And it's really extraordinary to notice that all churches use that same symbol. And all over the world, people do not realize that this cross that they think represents Christianity is actually over 5,000 years old. It's an ancient, prehistoric symbol of the sun. Jesus has always represented the sun, the S-U-N, not S-O-N. The etymology of the word for the sun. You see that sun can be S-U-N or S-O-N, and depending on how it's used. S-O-N and S-U-N are used interchangeably in Christianity. And illustrations in the Christian church, you will see they're all actually a round, glowing sun. Not a young child or a baby or a man, but the S-U-N. There's two words, S-U-N and S-O-N, but the Christianity and Judaism are based on the worship of the S-U-N, not S-O-N. That's a misunderstanding. That misunderstanding is part of the history of the English language. Because if you go back into the King's Old English, you go back into the history of the English language, there is a phenomena which in English class you will learn is called the lazy O. The lazy O is a phenomena in English which means that translators always translated sun, S-O-N and S-U-N, all in the same sentence. And so it became known as the lazy O. They were talking about the S-U-N, but they used S-O-N because they were lazy. They just used either one. The mother of Jesus is Mary, which is actually Mari, M-A-R-I, not M-A-R-Y. Mary means pure. And therefore the mother of Jesus is a virgin, or Virgo. One of the 12 signs of the zodiac is a Virgo, the virgin. So here is Mary, or Mary, the virgin, Virgo, holding the baby Jesus, or God's Son, the light of the world. Today we still have Jesus as God's Son in the heavens, and he became now a great sun god. But the question you need to ask yourself is, who owns the sun? We assume that the sun must be owned by someone. Well, mankind doesn't own the sun. If anything, you would say maybe God owns the sun. So if God owns the sun, then it's God's Son, and he's the light of the world. Of course the sun is the light of the world.